Hello everyone and welcome back once again. This is your science teacher here, and this time I am here with the fourth chapter of grade 8 science NCERT textbook, that is materials, metals and non-metals. Students, a material is a substance or mixture of substances that basically constitutes an object. And students, materials can be pure or impure, living or non-living matter, and they can be classified based on their physical and chemical properties or on their geological origin or biological function. So students, in your this chapter, means in your chapter number 4, we will basically learn and discuss about materials that are basically classified on the basis of their physical and chemical properties. So let's start. Now students, as you can see here the heading metals. So first of all, we are going to discuss about metals. Students, generally metals are those materials which possess the characteristic of being very hard, shiny in nature, malleable. Malleable means convert into thin sheets, fusible, ductile, etc. And all those materials that possess that kind of characteristics are termed as metals, like gold, silver, copper, etc. Now students, let's start with the physical properties of metals. And students, in your this section, we will basically discuss about the physical properties of metals. Students, a physical property of any material is that property that is basically measurable and whose value describes a state of a physical system. Or we can say that the physical property is that property of material through which we can just recognize that material just by looking at its appearance. So the first physical property that we are going to discuss here is malleability. Students, malleability is a property of material by which it can be bitten to form its thin sheets. And students, most of the metals are malleable. For example, like gold, silver, copper, etc. And students, the silver foil basically that you use for decorating sweets in your everyday life and the aluminium foils that you use for wrapping food are malleable. And students, it's possible to use them for those purposes just because of their malleability property of metals. Now students, the next physical property of metals is conductivity. Students, conductivity in metal is the measure of material's ability to transmit heat or electricity. Or we can say that conductivity is that property of metals which allows the current and heat to pass through them easily. For example, like iron rod, nail, copper wire, etc. And students, just because of this characteristic, they are widely used in our everyday life. Now, the next physical property is ductility. Students, ductility is that physical property of a metal that is basically associated with the ability to be hammered thin or stretched into wire without breaking. And students, a ductile substance can be drawn into a thin wire, as you can see here. This is a thin wire of gold. In the same way, aluminium and copper wires are also ductile. Now the next property is sonorous. Students, sonorous is one of the physical properties of a metal, basically by which sound is produced when a metal is struck. Students, have you ever been to a temple and rang the bell there? And have you ever noticed the sound that the bell produced? Students, this sound is just because of the sonority of that metal. Means the bell that you rang there is a metal. Students, for example, if you struck aluminium, it produces a high pitched sound. So we can say that aluminium is also a metal. And students, just because due to this property of metals, they are used to make many musical instruments in order to exploit their sonorous properties. Now the next physical property is lustrous. Students, lustrous is that properties of metals which makes them shine, and students, their structures are capable of reflecting incident light, and that's why they are shiny in appearance. Students, luster is the way light interact and reflect off a surface, and students, metals are basically recognized for their brilliant luster, as you can see here in this image. Also gold, chromium, platinum, copper and silver, and due to their this property they are generally used to make ornaments. Now students, the next category of materials that we are going to discuss in this chapter is non-metal. Students, basically non-metal, just opposite to that of the metals, and students, we can say that those materials which do not possess the characteristic of metals are termed as non-metals. And students, materials like coal, sulfur are basically soft in nature and dull in appearance, whereas as we learn in case of metals, that metals are basically hard and shiny in appearance. And students, in the same way, when we hammered them, means non-metals, they broke down into powdery mass or into fine pieces, whereas when we beat metals, they convert into thin sheet. In the same way students, as we learn that metals are sonorous, whereas non-metals are non-sonorous, and metals are good conductor of heat and electricity, whereas non-metals are poor conductors of heat and electricity, means they don't allow heat and electricity to pass through them. For examples like sulfur, carbon, oxygen, they all are non-metals. Now students, let's move on towards the chemical properties of metals and non-metals. Students, a property or characteristic of a substance that is basically observed during a reaction in which the chemical composition of a substance or its identity is completely changed is called a chemical property. And students, chemical properties basically include the toxicity of substances, acidity of substances, reactivity and etc. So now in this section we will basically learn and discuss about the chemical properties of metals and non-metals. And now first of all, we are going to discuss the reaction of oxygen with metal and non-metal. Students, generally when oxygen reacted with metals, they will form metallic oxide. And students, the metallic oxide that basically forms after the reaction of oxygen with metals are basic in nature. As you can see here, for example, iron is a metal, and when iron comes in contact with oxygen and water, then it forms iron oxide. As you can see here in these figures, the reddish color that you basically see here in iron is iron oxide, Fe2O3, and this iron oxide is basic in nature. Now students, let's discuss the next example. Students, have you ever seen a new copper vessel? Basically a new copper vessel shines a lot, but students, if we use it again and again, then it comes in contact with moist air, and students, slowly the color of the vessel changes into a dull green color. And students, this dull green color basically appears due to the mixture of copper hydroxide and copper carbonate. And students, the reaction that basically involves in this, copper when comes in contact with water, carbon dioxide, oxygen, then it forms copper hydroxide and copper carbonate. So means the green material that you basically observe around the copper vessel is the mixture of copper hydroxide and copper carbonate. Now students, let's discuss that how can we test the nature of rusting. As I said that rusting is basic in nature, so in this part we are going to discuss that how can we test the nature of rust. So students, for this, first of all, you have to collect a spoonful of rust and dissolve it in a very little amount of water. Now students, there is a question that how can you collect the rust? You have to just scratch the rusted iron and then you will get a fine reddish powder, and that is your rust. Then students, after this you have to add some little water in the rust, and students, when you will add water in this rust, then you will see that the rust will not dissolve in water, it will remain suspended. Then students, after this, the solution that you made, you have to test that solution with red and blue litmus paper. Students, as you all know that this red and blue litmus paper is basically an indicator that is used to check the acidity or basicity of any substance. So when you test this solution with red and blue litmus paper, then you will see that the red litmus paper turns into blue. And students, whenever the red litmus paper turns into blue, it means the given substance that we are going to test is basic in nature. As you can see here also in this test tube, rust is suspended in water, and when we will test this solution in red litmus paper, the red litmus paper will turn into blue, and it proves that rust is basically basic in nature. Now students, let's discuss the reaction of non-metals with oxygen. Students, generally non-metals also shows their reactivity with oxygen, but in contrast with metal, non-metals oxide are acidic in nature. Now students, here we will also check that how can we test the nature of a non-metallic oxide. So for this we have to do an activity, and at the end of this activity we will came to know that the non-metallic oxide are basically acidic in nature. So let's discuss. So students, for this, first of all, you have to take a small amount of powdered sulfur in a deflagrating spoon and then heat it. Students, sulfur is a non-metallic element, and students, you have to take powdered sulfur in a deflagrating spoon. As you can see here, this one is the deflagrating spoon, and students, this spoon is basically improvised as per our convenience, but basically the deflagrating spoon that is used in lab is in this way. Now after putting the powdered sulfur in this deflagrating spoon, you have to heat it. Then students, as soon as the sulfur start burning in the deflagrating spoon, then you have to introduce this spoon in a glass jar tumbler, as you can see here. Then you have to cover the tumbler with a lid. Then students, you have to immediately cover the tumbler with a lid, and you have to ensure that the gas that basically produced after burning shouldn't escape. After some time, you have to remove the spoon from the tumbler and then quickly add a small amount of water into the tumbler and shake it well. Then students, you have to check the solution with red and blue litmus paper. And students, the gas that basically formed after reaction of sulfur and oxygen is sulfur dioxide gas. And students, when you add water in this gas, then it will become sulfurous acid. And students, the overall reaction that basically occurred in this test is sulfur dioxide when comes in contact with water forms sulfurous acid, means H2SO3. Then students, when you test this sulfurous acid with blue litmus paper, then the blue litmus paper turns into red, which proves that sulfurous acid is acidic in nature. As you can see here also, when this blue litmus paper comes in contact with sulfurous acid, turns into red, as shown here in this figure, and it proves that sulfurous acid is acidic in nature. Now students, let's discuss the second case of metal and non-metal reactivity, and this time we are going to discuss the reactivity of metal and non-metals with water. So first of all, we will discuss about the reactivity of metal with water. Students, generally all metals react with water, or we can say all metals shows their reactivity with water. But students, some metals react very vigorously with waters, like sodium. So students, due to its reactivity nature, it is basically stored in kerosene. Students, whereas some metals react very slowly with water, like iron. Students, now discuss the reactivity of non-metal with water. Students, generally non-metals do not show their reactivity with water, but students, there are few exceptions in non-metals, like phosphorus. Students, this phosphorus is a non-metal and it is very reactive in nature when it comes in contact with air. So students, due to its very high reactivity, it is generally kept in water in order to prevent explosion. Now students, let's discuss the third chemical property of metal and non-metal, and this time we are going to discuss the reactivity of metal and non-metal with acid. So first of all, we will discuss the reactivity of acids with metals. Students, generally all metals react with acid, and when metals react with acid, they release hydrogen gas and with a pop sound. And students, you can test the presence of hydrogen gas by bringing a burning matchstick or candle near the gas. As you can see here in this figure, as in the first test tube, you can see here that when you add some metals in acid, then it reacts with acid and it forms gas. And when you bring a burning matchstick near the mouth of a test tube, then if this matchstick produces pop sound, then it means that hydrogen gas has evolved. And student, there is an exception, and that is copper doesn't react with hydrochloric acid while it reacts with sulfuric acid. Now let's discuss the reactivity of acids with non-metals. Students, generally non-metals do not react with acids. Now the next chemical property that we are going to discuss is with bases. So let's start. First of all, we will discuss the reactivity of bases with metals. Students, metals shows their reaction with bases, and when metals react with bases, they release hydrogen gas. As you can see here also, when we add metals to bases like sodium hydrogen oxide, then they liberate hydrogen gas. And students, when non-metals react with bases, they forms a very complex compounds, means non-metals also reacted with bases. Now students, let's discuss a very important topic of your chapter number 4, and that is displacement reaction. Students, as the name displacement suggests, means displace or move something from its place or position. So students, in science, displacement reaction happened when if a metal replaces another metal from compound, then such reaction are called displacement reactions. And students, the important thing that you must know that metals can actually be arranged as per their reactivity order. Means a more reactive metal will always displace a less reactive metal from its compound. But a less reactive metal cannot replace a more reactive metal. As you can see here also, this is the reactivity series, and in this reactivity series, as you can see here, potassium is on the top, and then just below the potassium is sodium, then calcium, then magnesium, then aluminium, then zinc, then iron, then tin, then lead, then hydrogen. So students, as I said that a more reactive metal will always displace a less reactive metal. So here in this case, the most reactive metal is potassium, and it is on the top. And then after potassium, the next powerful reactive metal is sodium. Then after sodium, calcium, then magnesium, then aluminium, then zinc, then iron, then tin, then lead, and then hydrogen, and so on. So potassium can displace any metal from their compound, but students, sodium cannot displace potassium from its compound, being it is less reactive than potassium. So in the same way, magnesium can displace aluminium from its compounds, but magnesium cannot displace calcium from its compound. Now let's take an example. Students, when zinc react with copper sulfate, then zinc displaces copper sulfate from its compound and itself react with sulfate and form zinc sulfate. As you can see here students, in this reactivity series, zinc is here and copper is below zinc. So zinc can displace copper from its compound, but copper cannot displace zinc from its compound. So in this reaction, when copper sulfate react with zinc, then zinc, being highly reactive in nature, it displaces copper from its compound and itself react with sulfate and forms zinc sulfate. Now students, let's discuss the applications of metals and non-metals, means what are their uses in our everyday life. So students, let's discuss first of all the uses of metals in our everyday life. Students, metals are generally used in making machines, automobiles, airplanes, cars, satellites, etc. because of their malleability, ductility and lustrous in nature. Next, metals are also used in making wires like copper due to their conductivity, and in the same way, metals are also used for making ornaments like gold, silver, etc., being they are non-corrosive in nature and lustrous in nature. Now let's discuss the application of non-metals. Students, the oxygen being a non-metal is very necessary for all living beings' survival on earth. Second, students, some non-metals are used as fertilizers to enhance the growth of plants. In the same way, non-metals are also used for water purification and also used as an antiseptic solution or ointments. And students, the firecrackers that you burn during Diwali are also made up from non-metals. Now students, your chapter number 4 is completed here with this topic. Now I will be come back soon with another chapter. Till then, stay home, stay safe and stay healthy.